Sam Darnold. That is my choice as the fantasy football quarterback of the year. Now, in real life, he could be the comeback quarterback of the year. I mean, no one expected this from him. They expected him to be a good, solid backup for J.J. McCarthy, which is what I thought when I drafted McCarthy. I didn't even have Darnold on the radar at that point, although I know I'm always telling everybody, get your handcuff, get your handcuff. But I wasn't sure that it was going to be him. I mean, Mullins was around. There was lots of quarterbacks around, so I was kind of waiting to see what happened. And then McCarthy hurt himself, unfortunately, which is bad for him and was bad for my fantasy football world too, which is more important. You know that, right? Anyway, but here I thought McCarthy, he walking into a situation which is perfect. I mean, he's not walking into a bad team. He's walking into a team that has Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson and Aaron Jones and a great offensive line and a fantastic coach and a great. This guy was walking into the perfect storm. And Sam Darnold is the beneficiary of all that. But the thing with Sam Darnold is he was a high draft pick. And last year he did play a little bit with San Francisco and he was fine. And this year he's just a little bit finer. But at the start of the year, I was just like you. I was not real confident. I picked him up off waivers. There he was. So, Sweet Sammy is on my team, and one of them, he's my starting quarterback. So, what happens? First week, 17 fantasy points. Just regular fantasy. We're not talking the bonuses or anything. Just standard fantasy points, 17 points. And I round these off a little bit. And I'm okay with that. So I play him again, 21. Then you get 24 points, 23 points. He's 4-0 and he's doing great. He's not perfect, but hey, I'm 20 to 25 points in standard fantasy is pretty good, right? And anyway, that was before the bye. The last game before the bye, he wins the game, but he only gets 6 fantasy points. 6. Which means now I'm not super confident. I'm liking what I'm seeing, but then all of a sudden there's a 6. And I've got the bye week now, so he's not going to come back right away and prove me wrong. So I got 2 weeks in here of thinking, should I or shouldn't I? Should I trade? So I'm actively looking for a quarterback at this point, and I'm wondering whether I should start him in week 7. Well, week 7 comes along, and they get Detroit, and week 8 they got the Rams. And in both those games, he lost, but he still got 20 fantasy points in each of them. So he's still okay for my fantasy, but now the NFL noise is coming around in that he's lost 2 in a row. He hasn't looked that good. So, maybe Mullins is going to start or someone else is going to be the starting quarterback there, and I'm going to be out of quarterback again. So I'm panicking a little bit. But I really didn't have to panic, did I? No. Because if we look at his record since then, and I got it here, especially the last 6 games, but his last 10 games, he has been phenomenal, but especially the last 6. He's won all the games since those 2 losses. They're 13-2, and they get a chance to be the number 1 seed in the entire NFL. So Sam Darnold is the one that quarterbacks this team. So in my world, that's worthy of fantasy quarterback of the year. But look at his points in the last 6 games. 26, 24, 21, 38, including 5 touchdown passes against Atlanta. Yes, sir. That clinched a playoff spot for me. Then he came up with a little bit of a 14-pointer, but last week 24. So this guy has 15 touchdown passes and 1 interception in the last 6 games. You tell me that those aren't good numbers, that those aren't comeback player of the year fantasy numbers. I mean, this guy has turned into one of the top quarterbacks in real life in the NFL, and he's actually one of the top quarterbacks in fantasy football. And I know that you're competing against Allen for MVP and Mahomes for MVP and all this kind of stuff, but those teams are good teams, and Minnesota is too, don't get me wrong. But Sam Darnold was not expected to be 13-2, 15 touchdowns, a good fantasy quarterback. A guy getting 20 to 24 points a game, that wasn't what Sam Darnold was supposed to be. So I get my vote for, well, I don't really get to cast my ballot anywhere, but my vote for fantasy football MVP and real life comeback quarterback of the year in the NFL is Sam Darnold. Sweet Sammy. This is what he was supposed to be when he got drafted by the Jets. And there was a comment, I can't remember, someone sent me a comment, said that it was last week or the week before, the New York Jets and Jacksonville and Cleveland should not be able to draft quarterbacks. Period. It should be against the rules. Because how many Jet quarterbacks are out there that are doing okay now that they had and they kind of screwed it up? So go to the Jets, screw it up. I don't know. But here's a little bit of fan. This is Christmas, and of course the NFL does own Christmas Day. We all know that. I mean, you're going to get up in the morning, you're going to open your presents, have breakfast with the family, sneak off to the garage where the big screen TV is hiding behind that fake wall you got out there. And you're going to watch football until it's time to cut the turkey. And the NFL knows this, so they slide those 2 games in, just like Thanksgiving. You know, I'd like to thank my family for, I'd like to thank the NFL for giving me something to do on Christmas Day, right? And saludos to you. But here's the thing about quarterbacks in the NFL. Over 70 have thrown a pass so far this year. So you need to protect your butt. This is the finals. Hurts might not be playing. So there's 4 quarterbacks playing on Christmas Day, and there's 2 quarterbacks playing the next day. So other than Caleb Williams on Thursday, you got to start Mahomes. You got to start anyone who is starting on Christmas Day. You gotta go with that, because that's the only assurance you have. I mean, you get the game last night, right? With 5 minutes to go, they took out Love and put Willis in. I'm sure that someone would have had Love that lost by a couple of points was not particularly happy. Don't let that happen to you. Use quarterbacks that matter in games that matter this weekend. Otherwise, you might lose out by just a couple of points because your team decided to sit your quarterback. Anyway, Merry Christmas. I hope you get everything you want, including a championship, unless you're playing against me in the final. Then second place is good for you. Merry Christmas. Enjoy the show. Again, please subscribe, like and all that stuff. Send me messages, whatever. I'm CJ. That's the season.